The most memorable part of Good Kids for me was towards the end when Skylar finally steps up and puts the blame on the right people, when all of the girls are saying things like Chloe was asking for it and she deserved it, and they're blaming Daphne for letting it happen, and all of the guys aren't taking any responsibility. And Skylar finally steps up and is like, "You guys raped Chloe," and calls the cops. And I thought it was very brave and commendable of her to do that. Which leads into my first theme, actually, which I said that it's important to do the right thing always. Um, when nobody steps up for Chloe, and then finally Skylar does. And then the second theme I said is you can't um, let the past define you. Um, the At the end of the play, it ends with all the good kids saying, like, for the rest of my life, this will be a part of the story that I tell, and that the person at the party and that night, like, that's not who I am. And you just can't dwell on the past, and eventually um, you have to let it go and move on, um, even though what happened to Chloe was horrible. And finally, you have to be careful about what you post on social media because everyone can see it or at least find it eventually. Anything posted to Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, it can't be deleted permanently, and everything leaves a trail. And like Deidre found the pictures and the video and the text from that night, and it went viral. And as for how Good Kids is different from Intimate Apparel, I really like the foreshadowing, like the bits and pieces that were revealed, and then they did the rewind, and then they had the whole thing unfold, and I thought it was a lot more mysterious, and it kept me wanting to read more, whereas Intimate Apparel was just kind of chronologically, and I thought it was a little more boring that way. And then the language used in Good Kids was also a lot more relatable and easier to understand because it's more how we talk today, like the hashtags and tweets and stuff. And then finally, I liked how Deirdre narrated the story and she talked straight to the audience, but also mediated the play and what was happening on stage. I thought her role was really interesting, and there was not a role like that in Intimate Apparel. Um, and for our mainstream cultural understanding of gender and sexuality, I think that it's very sad how nobody sympathizes with Chloe, and even though she's the victim, but because she's not afraid of her own sexuality, or she's not ashamed of it, I mean, everybody's calling her a slut and saying that she wanted it and she's asking for it and she had it coming and she's that kind of girl. And the mothers are telling their daughters, like, don't you ever be that stupid. And the parents of the football players are all saying, like, oh, she's making a big deal over nothing. She ruined my son's life. She brought it all on herself. And it's kind of like boys will be boys. But poor Chloe gets no justice. And it just kind of raises questions about kids these days and our hookup culture and value when sex is so casual these days, but no one says anything about sexual assault. And like maybe we should be doing something to teach kids not to sexually assault other people. Yeah, and then for my questions, I said that the play just kind of stops with everybody saying that they're not the person from the party, and it doesn't really change the fact that Chloe was sexually assaulted. And I just wanted to know if you think that maybe she deserved a little more justice for what happened to her that night. And then finally, why didn't anybody do anything to stop Ty from sexually assaulting Chloe? Especially Tanner seemed to be the most distraught by it, but he still did nothing, and I just wanted to know why.